Hey guys, Dalek44 here. I need no introduction, but I got one anyway. Let's talk about the Powerpuff Girls. The Powerpuff Girls is an American superhero animated TV series created by animator Craig McCracken and produced by Hanna-Barbera for Cartoon Network. Its original run went from 1998 to 2005. The show centers around Blossom, Bubbles and Buttercup, three kindergarten-aged girls with superpowers. The girls live their lives in their city of Townsville and frequently save the world before bedtime from the many villains including Mojo Jojo, Fuzzy Lumpkins, Him, the Gangrene Gang, Seducer, and many others. The show starred many famous voice actors including Kathy Cavadini, Tara Strong, E.G. Daily, Tom King, Tom Kenny, Roger L. Jackson, and many more. It ran for 6 seasons, got a Christmas special, a 10th anniversary special, a CGI special, and a crappy remake in 2016. And of course it had that kick-ass theme song by Biss. This show was so popular that it ended up with getting more seasons than some of the other Cartoon Network shows, as well as a bad reboot. And with how popular it was, you'd think that they'd probably come up with a movie or something to celebrate how wonderful the show was. What the? I could have sworn my door just opened.
Hello, Dalek44.
Oh, hello, Sue. I thought you'd been filming your next show.
We are, but Richard gave me and the boys some time off.
And you came over to see me?
Of course. I thought we could watch a movie together and... Oh! I love your new bedroom, Dalek44.
Why, thank you. We'd done it up during the summer, and it was well worth it. Wait a minute. How did you get in my house in the first place?
Don't you remember? You gave me a spare house key.
Oh, yeah. I forgot why my spare key was missing from the hangar. Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't you go over to my DVD shelves over there and pick a movie for us to watch?
Goody! What about this one?
Oh, perfect! The movie based on the TV series I was talking about earlier. The Powerpuff Girls movie. The Powerpuff Girls movie was released in July 3rd, 2002 by Warner Bros. Pictures. It was directed by the series creator Craig McCracken. It serves as a prequel to the series and tells the origin story of how the Powerpuff Girls were created and how they came to be defenders of Townsville.
So what are your thoughts on the Powerpuff Girls movie today, Dalek44?
I'm glad you asked that question, Sue. Let's watch the movie and find out. Professor Utonium, played by Tom King, creates a mixture of sugar, spice and everything nice in hope of producing the perfect little girl to improve Townsville, a city plagued by crime and injustice. His destructive chimpanzee lab assistant Jojo shoves the professor into a container of chemical X, accidentally breaking it and spilling it into the mixture, which explodes in Jojo's face. The experiment is successful in producing 3 little girls whom the professor names Blossom, Bubbles and Buttercup. He also discovers that the girls have gained superpowers from the added chemical X. Despite the girls' recklessness with their powers, they all immediately grow to love each other as a family. During the first day of school, the girls learn about the game of tag and begin to play among themselves, which quickly grows destructive once they use their powers. The girls take their game downtown, accidentally causing massive damage to the city until the professor calms them down. The next day, the girls are treated as outcasts by the citizens of Townsville as a result of the destruction they have caused, and the professor is arrested for creating the girls. Realising that using their powers again will only anger the townspeople more, the girls try to make their own way home from school on foot. They become lost in an alleyway and are ambushed by the Gangrene Gang, only to be rescued by Jojo, whose brain has been mutated by the Chemical X explosion, giving him super intelligence and human speech. Planning to control the city, Jojo gains the girls' sympathy by saying that he is also hated for his powers. Jojo convinces the girls to help him build a laboratory and machine powered by Chemical X, which he claims will earn them the affections of the city.
Liars!
Jojo rewards the girls with a trip to the local zoo, where he secretly implants small teleportation devices in the primates there. That night, Jojo teleports the primates into his lab and uses his new machine to inject them with Chemical X, turning them into evil mutant primates like himself. The next morning, after the professor is released from prison, the girls show him all the good they have done, only to discover the city under attack by primates. Jojo, renaming himself Mojo Jojo, publicly announces the girls as his assistants, which further damages their reputation and turns the Distort Professor against them. Dejected, the girls exile themselves to an asteroid in outer space. Mojo Jojo announces his intention to rule the planet, but becomes frustrated when his minions begin concocting their own plans to terrorize the people of Townsville. Overhearing the turmoil from space, the girls return to Earth and rescue the citizens, realizing they can use their powers to fight the primates. And after the girls defeat Mojo Jojo's army, they have to defeat Mojo himself and save Townsville from his tyranny.
This movie's a wonderful backstory to this Cartoon Network classic in my opinion. What do you think, Sue?
Well, it's a great backstory for one of Cartoon Network's most popular characters. But do you think it still holds up?
Yes. Yes, it does.
When I was a kid, this movie was a huge deal. Cartoon Network have made quite a few movies based on their shows, like Dexter's Laboratory Ego Trip, but they were mostly TV films, so this is the first time that Cartoon Network had ever made a movie for the big screen. And that was a huge deal back then, and it proves to be a great prequel film for the show.
But a great story like the Powerpuff Girls movie can't be made great without its great major characters, and this movie isn't short of them.
Blossom, voiced by Kathy Carradine, is the intelligent and dutiful leader of the girls. She could be quite bossy at times, but means well, and just wants the best in her teammates.
I always loved Blossom because she's like me. She's the voice of reason that she is very pretty, like me.
Well, I think you're sweeter than Blossom, to be honest, Sue.
Bubbles, played by the famous Tara Strong, is the sweet and cheerful member. She's very sensitive and can easily get her feelings hurt. This especially shows when the townspeople reject them as outcasts and freaks. Buttercup, played by E.G. Daly, is the tough and brash member of the team. Like Bubbles, she can be quite sensitive too, but more anger comes out of her than sadness compared to Bubbles. Professor Utonium, voiced by Tom Kane, is the Powerpuff Girls' creator and father. He's one of the many characters that the famous Tom Kane voices on Cartoon Network. Other characters he's voiced include Mr. Hairman from Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, and one of the Republic generals from Star Wars The Clone Wars, and many other characters that I can't really be bothered to talk about right now. But he's a delight in this movie. He's like the new father who's trying to learn to be a good parent, and often comes across things that good parents don't do, such as,
All I gotta do is be a good parent. Note to self, good parents don't leave their kids home alone.
the mayor of Townsville, voiced by the famous Tom Kenny, is a delight in this movie as he is in the show. He's leader of the city of Townsville, and yet his childishness and love for pickles can get in the way of his mayorly duties.
I love how childish the mayor is within the show, and Tom Kenny's voice really brings that childlike charm of the character.
You're quite right there, Sue. Tom Kenny was the best choice for the mayor in my opinion. His voice is just great for this character.
And every time the mayor's on screen, he's just a delight to watch. I mean, everything he does and says, it's just so freaking hilarious. And like in the show, Tom Kenny also voices the narrator, who always gives us the introduction to the episode and then the ending of the episode. Except here, he only shows up at the beginning and the end of the movie. Whereas in each episode of the show, he would introduce the episode, then end the episode, and do a couple of talks in between the actions in each episode. But here, he remains silent for most of the film. only giving us the introduction and then the ending. Now most people would probably hate this because the narrator had a big presence in the show despite not knowing what he looks like. But I honestly have no problem with this. It just gives the characters time to breathe and do what they do and just focus on the story. An unwelcome change for some fans, but for me it's a welcome change. Then there's the movie's villain, Mojo Jojo, played by Roger L. Jackson, a chimpanzee mutated by Chemical X who becomes the Powerpuff Girls' archenemy. When I used to watch the show as a kid, Mojo was always my favourite character and villain. In the show he was mostly a comical villain who would come up with new plans to defeat the girls but would always fail. But in this movie he's darker than he used to be in the show.
Wait a minute. Mojo Jojo was mostly comical in the show. How could he be darker in the movie?
I'm glad you asked that question, Sue. Let me explain.
When he meets the girls, he uses their depression from being outcasts into his advantage and to build his laboratory. And when I was a kid, I always used to think that he built his laboratory on top of the volcano himself. So it was really surprising to me to find out that the girls actually helped him build his lair. And he mutates many monkeys into being his evil minions, only to have them betray him and come up with ideas of their own.
And the movie also comes with one of his biggest rants of all time.
Stop! Cease! Desist! Do not continue with your ramblings, for my ramblings are the ramblings to be obeyed, for I am the king, supreme leader, and all-around dictator. Don't you see? All you monkeys are my plan. So your plans are my plans, because you made plans, and my plan was to make you. I plan to rule the planet, not to have my plans plan to stop me. I am your creator. I am your king. I am Mojo Jojo. Obey me!
Wow! Roger L. Jackson must have been exhausting after recording that rant.
I bet he was, Sue. I could just imagine him panting for air and a glass of water at the end of this recording.
And when his first plan fails, he even uses Chemical X on himself to increase his power and abilities. And the results are pretty scary, even by today's standards.
Wow, that is terrifyingly brilliant, wouldn't you agree, Sue? Sue? Sue, are you alright?
Yes. It's just that Mojo frightened me a bit.
Oh, it's alright, Sue. The scary giant monkey's gone now. Love that panda.
So Mojo is definitely darker and more serious in this movie compared to the show. So it's probably my theory that Mojo used up a lot of his evil and seriousness in the movie, and turned to comical side when he came to the show. Much like Lord Zed's change to goofiness near Series 2 when he married Rita Repulsa. It's also really nice to see the full details of Mojo's backstory as well as the girl's backstory. I mean, we already knew from the first season how Mojo became the evil genius he is today, but we've never gotten the full details of what happened after the accident. So this movie does a great job of filling in the gaps for you.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I, Mojo Jojo, have a town to take over. I have a world to rule. I have to seize control of an area and force its inhabitants to follow my way of thinking, even if it means taking extreme measures!
The movie also includes various cameos and appearances from other characters, including Mitch Mitchelson, Miss Keaton, Miss Bellum, Fuzzy Lumpkins robbing a convenience store, and the Gang Green Gang. In fact, the Gang Green Gang are actually the first villains that the girls encountered before getting their asses whooped by JoJo. And out of the gang and Fuzzy, the Gang Green Gang make the most cameos compared to them and Fuzzy Lumpkins. Not bad for characters who were just your everyday punks. The animation in this movie is fantastic, as it was back then.
Keep in mind, the animation for the Powerpuff Girls was already top-notch as TV shows go, and they had to up it a lot for the movie. And thankfully, they had the budget and the time and dedication to do so.
With new and improved character designs and new shades of colour, and a few 3D technologies put in here and there. And my favourite update in this movie is Mojo's design. In the show he looked like your normal everyday chimpanzee, but in the movie they made him look more demonic and diabolical by giving him pointer ears and a longer face. And this movie would be carried on from the movie to the rest of the show during its last few years. And this is the design I've come to love the most. In fact, when I do drawings of Mojo Jojo every now and then, his design from the movie is the one I do the most. It's just the most memorable design for Mojo to me.
The animation brings out the bright, colourful side of Townsville, and also the dark, harsh colours in the darker moments.
And the music was done by James L. Venerable, who had been a part of the show since the beginning. The guy just knows what type of music to do for whatever scene is going on in the movie. and it makes me think that people should hire him to do more music for other films. He's just so damn good. When the movie was first released, it received mixed reviews from critics, some people saying that it's probably too violent for a kids' film, but I honestly don't see why people would make that kind of criticism since the show was known for its violence. And that's just part of superhero life, isn't it? So just to complain about the amount of violence in a film about superheroes when you get violence in other superhero films like Batman, Superman and so on and so forth, it's just really weird to me. And the movie grossed $16.4 million in the box office when it had an $11 million budget. So despite being a mixed bag in the box office, it did earn at least more than what they spent making the film. The movie even came with a Dexter's Laboratory short titled Chicken Scratch, which was shown prior to the film, and it later aired as part of the series' 4th season, and you can even find it as a DVD extra on the Powerpuff Girls movie DVD. And while the short isn't as good as it used to be during its first 2 seasons, it is quite entertaining and really funny in places, especially if you're a fan of Dexter's Laboratory. And over the years, as the movie has gotten more and more attention, I've noticed some fan art of the Powerpuff Girls movie 2 with him as the villain, and that just makes me want to see a Powerpuff Girls movie sequel to the original show in real life. I mean, who here besides me just wants to see how the girls meet him for the first time, and what made him decide to destroy the Powerpuff Girls? I mean, there's just so many interesting things that could be answered in that sort of movie. Craig McCracken, make it happen. So to me, the Powerpuff Girls movie is one of the greatest movies that Cartoon Network has ever made, as well as being the first movie they've made for the big screen. It's a movie that definitely deserves more attention than what it gets today. And it's definitely better than having to sit through the crappy remake that's been done. It's got great characters, great animation, great music, a great backstory to the world's greatest superheroes, and it's just an all-around great movie in my opinion.
So in my opinion, the Powerpuff Girls is one of the greatest animated movies of all time, and I find it a real shame that it doesn't get as much attention as most big screen movies do today.
I agree, Dalek44. This first and the only big screen feature film gives the fans the original show that they wanted to see in the Powerpuff Girls movie.
And if you haven't seen this movie yet, then go and check it out. But if you're going to see this movie, I'd highly recommend checking out the show first, just to get an idea of what the movie is about. Or if you just want to start with this movie to get the prequel story, then start off with this movie. But whichever you choose to start with, I guarantee that you're going to get a lot of good kicks and fun from this movie. It's one of Cartoon Network's finest.
Well, it's been real fun looking at this movie with you, Sue.
Well, it's been great fun watching this movie with you, Dalek44, but I must be getting back to the park now.
Okay, but before you go, I think you should say goodbye to everybody in the audience.
Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
I love that panda. See you next time, folks.
It's a great comeback. It's backstory, not comeback.
I am Jojo, open!